My name is Paul Vigna. I'm a reporter at the Wall Street Journal. I cover Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So I came here today to give a talk, basically around a book that Michael Casey and I had written called The Truth Machine. And really I was just kind of focusing on the impact of blockchain technology. So the book is about, it's a follow-on to a book we had written in 2015 called The Age of Cryptocurrency. And that book was really sort of an explainer. What is Bitcoin? What is the blockchain? How does it work? This book is more about what can you do with that technology? What are the applications of that technology? And what is going to be the societal impact of that technology? And I know that's a very broad, big question that's impossible to answer. We didn't really try to answer it so much as just pose it and say that this is going to have an impact and we really should start thinking about that. And that's kind of what the thrust of the book is. The biggest thing that's happened that was really surprising certainly was the crazy price rally in 2017, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything going up, that sort of mania that gripped the mainstream actually. When you had investors who were literally the mom and pop type investors suddenly emailing me, saying, what is this thing called Bitcoin and how do I get involved in it? That I found really surprising. I didn't really expect that to happen. This year when the price crashed, that wasn't really so surprising. That's kind of the history of Bitcoin. I think what is sort of surprising, maybe not even surprising, but what I think is very interesting certainly is to see the momentum that this movement has, to see the people that are coming into it, to see the people who are bringing their talents and their intelligence into this sector and who are really fueled with this idea of this being something that is going to change the world and I want to be involved in it. And that I think is important. Of course there's an element of this that is, I think this is a way for me to get rich and I want to do that. And that exists and that's there and we have to talk about that. But to me what is more interesting are the people who really want to try to take this technology and build something very valuable to people off of it. From a practical standpoint, you look at what Consensus is building and it's interesting. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if any one outfit that is in the Consensus shop right now will ever sort of be the killer app thing, will ever sort of be the thing that changes this entire industry. I don't know that, but I do certainly see a lot of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of companies coming into this because of Consensus, and yeah, that's a centralized thing. And look, I don't think as a society we're really ready for a broadly decentralized world. I think that's an interesting dream, and I think you can see over the last 10, 20 years, we're moving in that direction. Technology is allowing us to sort of do things in a less centralized manner, but we're not quite there yet. So yeah, you're going to have a shop like Consensus. Yes, you're going to have a lot of for-profit companies that are centralized institutions trying to leverage this technology. That's just going to be part and parcel of where we stand right now, sort of on a timeline of history. The two things I would be looking for would be, and they're related really, would be one, the killer app, right? I mean, the thing that finally brings this into the mainstream, the thing that is so easy to use that people adopt it and they say, wow, how did I ever get by without that? That would be one thing. The other thing would be seeing adoption from the other side of it, would be seeing mainstream companies and mainstream usage moving into the space and taking it up in that way. And I think the interesting place to watch for that will be a country like Japan, a country like Switzerland, where they have taken a very positive approach to this, a very constructive approach to this. They've put in what they think are some very common sense rules around this technology, around it as an asset, around it as a product, and kind of laid the rails for it. So you want to see how people then use it. So I think it's kind of seeing where this goes, seeing it from both sides. What do the people in the industry build for people, and what do people on the outside how do they come to it? Where do they meet in the middle? That's what I personally think is the most interesting thing to look for. Art has a role in this movement, and it's really interesting because I think what it does is, in a very literal way, it illustrates that this is a movement. This is a group of people. This is a culture. And in a culture, you get art, you get music, you get stories. It's not just the technology. You get language. There's an entire nomenclature that has grown up around this technology. There's art that has grown up around it. And I think all of that serves to illustrate that this is about much more than the technology. This is about a social movement. This is about a group of people around the world coming together, trying to create something that they think is going to be better than what existed before. I don't know if that'll work or not. Nobody knows if that'll work or not, but that is what they're trying to do. And to the extent they're trying to do that, I think it's really fascinating. And the art serves to illustrate that. So I think art has a huge role to play in this movement. Me personally, I think I absorbed what this is pretty quickly and realized pretty quickly that there was a very interesting story here to tell. But I will say that took me a few months, and I think I got it pretty quickly. There are people that just cannot wrap their heads around the idea of decentralized currency, cannot wrap their heads around the idea of decentralized businesses that don't need to have a person or an entity in the middle of it controlling it and directing it. That is really not something any of us were raised with. We were raised with centralized systems, governments, businesses, all of that. And that has been something that has been built over the course of hundreds of years. And that is something that is very deeply ingrained in our subconscious. It's something we don't even really think about. So for a lot of people, when you say, that's why I think for a lot of people, when you start talking about Bitcoin, when you start talking about blockchain and Ethereum, their first reaction is, that's a scam. They just don't quite get it. And that was my first reaction too. I'm not saying that they're wrong and we're right. I think it's a very natural first reaction, but I think it's your first reaction because this is a very different concept from what we were raised with. And I think that takes a long time. And look, you can see just in the last week, I mean, you look at I'm not trying to slag on Nouriel Roubini or Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett, but you look at the way they're talking about this now. They are doubling down, they are tripling down. They are not interested in this at all. And I don't think that speaks badly on their part. I just think that is a very natural reaction for a lot of people. And it is going to take a long time for this technology to get past that. And this technology is going to have to prove itself in a very real way to get past that. It's a big challenge, actually.